Now that we have our landing page, the website that we build with the AI tool that I literally built in front of you guys, what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to break down what makes a good landing page on a website. Okay, these are things you guys are going to have to take note of. And the reason why is because you have to obviously understand the psychology behind what makes good landing pages good in the first place before you actually jump into creating them. So you guys can see immediately the very first thing at the forefront of this landing page is this header section, okay? It has a hook right in the middle. It's big and bold, and it's usually in the center. It's going to be centered around the biggest, most crucial, most hurtful pain point that your system or product solves. So obviously ours is voice AI, okay? So the direct pain point for that is going to be losing jobs or losing plumbing jobs in this example. And this is the first thing they see in the middle. Boom, it just slaps you right in the face. Now the thing right under it is basically what we made earlier with our pricing offer, okay? This is going to be the offer, the promise you are making to the customer that you are selling this thing to. So in our case, it's 24/7 voice AI that answers every call, handles peak hour spikes, captures intake, and books jobs, so that way your team talks to revenue producing conversation. It's giving them an idea of what our system does, why it even matters in the first place, and how it's going to help their specific symptoms and directly impacts the ROI. It shows them the ROI immediately right here. Now we can even make this stronger. Our old offer that we talked about with those 5 main pillars that I explained to you guys, where you have a guarantee and you're positioning it around those pillars, you can include those guarantees in this right here, because this is part of what you are presenting the world. And then immediately right under, you're going to see specific core features of our product or system, right? Answering 24/7 even after hours, handling multiple calls at once, separating emergency versus non-emergency, and then capturing intake and scheduling jobs automatically. Now, this is just 4 of them. Obviously, our voice AI system can do much more than that, but what we did is we threw the top 4 at the top right here for the plumbing industry. This is what they relate to the most in their day-to-day jobs. And then right under that, you have a call to action, a CTA. This is what we want them to do in order to get a hold of us and reach out to us and talk to us, so that way we can let them know about our system and potentially sell them on the idea of implementing it for their business. This is the literal door for them to get a hold of us, for us to sell it to them, right? Which is obviously the very, very first step in the process, is booking a discovery call. We want these people on the phone as quickly as possible. And everything that they're seeing around this page should make it really, really hard not to click this book a discovery call. You can see here, we don't just have quick jabby words. We also have quick visuals on the right side as well. And we have quick statistics that are labeled here at the top. So we're showing a 100% answer rate, and we're showing them a quick path of what happens to the phone call, right? We're saying the phone call comes in, it's being handled 24/7. And then we have intent triage right after. Basically, the voice AI knows what kind of call is happening, and it knows what to do based on that kind of call. And then it does booking and intake. Then it does the dispatching notification. This is a very, very quick walkthrough visually of what our system does without us having to just use words only. We're also letting them visualize this. And then you can see at the top right, little emblem that says live 24/7. This is very, very subtle, but very nice right here, because it hits on the point that this thing does not sleep. And if you just look at a glance at this page, what is the one thing that is repeated more than once? It is literally the fact that it's 24/7, right? You see it 1 right here, 2 right here, 3 different times right here. Actually, just four different times just on this page right here. This literally hits it home that this thing operates no matter what time it is. And then right under that, we're showing them pain points and symptoms, okay? We're telling them what are we focused mainly on solving. And this is written and shown in a way that paints an image in their mind, right? We're showing them that when calls get unanswered, you are potentially losing a job that's going to a competitor, right? We're saying you guys have overload during your peak hours, and you have no visibility into what the call intent is. You guys are having dispatching interruptions because technicians have to get pulled off and take other calls. And every single one of them has 3 bullet points right under it, basically just jabbing at that symptom right here that our system focuses on fixing. So just off the bat, we have 4 cards for those pain points and their symptoms. And then right under that, we have our literal promise. Here's what changes in the first 30 days. This is part of our guarantee that I helped you guys make earlier. We're saying in the first 30 days, you're going to see more book jobs. You're going to see recovered revenue, higher closing rates, after our emergency is going to be captured, and all of these other very lucrative pain points that we're solving for them. That'll be really nice to have. This is the return on investment section. Okay, this is why they should even do this in the first place. What are they getting in return? we're immediately showing them their return investment, and we're giving them a timeline for when they should be seeing these things. And again, all of this at core, at heart, literally hits those exact pillars that I taught you guys earlier. One of them is giving timeline expectations for the ROI. And I also explained to you guys why you need to do that. Now look at this, right? Right after that, we have a statistic. And again, this is the same stuff that we researched. We're saying that we see a lot of shops miss 27% of inbound calls. And if your average job is minimum $400, this could represent thousands leaking per month in revenue from your business. This is backing all of the claims that we already talked about earlier and all the different pains and symptoms that we showed them in their face. This is an authoritative statistic telling them, hey, we're not just doing this just to bullshit. We have stats that we researched that shows what we're showing you is something that's meant to plug a hole in your business. And then right under that, we're showing them a quick timeline of how the process goes after a discovery call. That way they have basically an idea in their mind of how this stuff actually even works, what happens after the discovery call. This is hitting on that time expectation pillar that I told you guys about. People love understanding timelines and they love understanding different parts of the process. We're saying we're going to start with a discovery call where we do this. We're going to build and configure where we do this. We're going to go live where we do this. And here is, we're going to do support right after we deploy that. And right under that, we are now showing them that we relate to the tools that they use in their industry, right? So we have our small business stack and we're saying Jobber, House Call Pro, Workers, and then we have the mid/large stack, okay, Service Titan, whatever. This is the same stack that we researched about their industry earlier to find out what are they most likely going to be using. Now, right under that, we now have our different tiers that goes into different kinds of businesses. And these are just business profiles where a business can look at this and classify themselves on which tier they belong to. And you guys can see we're highlighting the middle tier here, obviously, because we don't want people to go to the most basic tier. We're saying this one is the most popular and here is why, right? There's more support, there's more whatever. And each of them has a CTA, the call to action that we want, which is booking a discovery call for us. We're saying use this button to get a hold of us to talk about doing all of these things that you're seeing in these packages. And then right after that is a quick form for them to fill out and then actually get a hold of us using this right here, which is how we're going to make the process of getting a hold of us easy for them, right? Basic information, what time do you want to talk about, and boom, book a discovery call. We want to make this process as easy as possible for them to even get a hold of us. And then finally, we end with an FAQ page, right? These are just questions that somebody might have and they maybe want to dig into and figure out the answer. Now, I want you guys to understand, okay, the way everything is positioned here is very, very psychologically driven, because this train is the logical train that somebody's brain takes when they're looking at a landing page. And they're looking at things that convince them to even call in the first place in the natural order that they should be looking at them. This is the train that somebody's brain logically takes on its own when looking at a landing page in the order of things that would convince them to book a call in the very first place, right? Their brain naturally shifts towards the next thing that would be shown on the page right under it, which is why they are ordered the same exact order that you're seeing right now. It's meant to naturally follow the thinking pattern of what somebody might be asking next after seeing the thing that they just saw. And it does it in the correct order where when they reach a page down here, they should, based off of all of this entire train right here, should have been walked to this discovery call, right? They're not jumping from place to place. Everything they're seeing is naturally ordered for this button right here to be very enticing. Right, so this is done in this exact order on purpose. Now, when you guys are designing landing pages and website, I want you to keep this order right here in mind, because this locks people and it walks them through their own logical sales process in their own head while they're looking at the page and as they're thinking about the service and what even goes with it in the first place. And it doesn't have to be a service, it could be a product, it could be whatever you're selling. It literally does not matter. So now we have a problem, right? We can't even use this discovery call because the reason why, if somebody books the same exact time as somebody else, it doesn't care. It will overlap. It'll book them on top of each other. This is a big problem, right? We don't want two meetings to be on the exact same time. So how are we going to fix this, right? The booking integration literally does not care if time overlaps, which means if somebody books the time as the same as somebody else, we are cooked. Which leads us to the next question. How are we going to fix this? The easiest fix and most straight up fix is for us to show them something that has a bunch of times. And if a time slot is taken, they can't book it. But if it's available, they can book it themselves. And the tool to do that is called Calendly. Okay, this is probably something you guys are very familiar with. So here's the website. I'm just going to click get started so that way I can create an account. And then it's going to ask me, do you want to create an account? I'm going to say continue with Google, the quickest and most simplest way. Click on my testing Gmail, and then I'm going to click continue. And then here, I'm just going to assign it the permissions. Yes, Calendly can access events on the calendar, and I'm going to click continue. So after that, it just took me to this quick, I guess, questionnaire page. I'm not even going to bother answering these. I guess they don't let me. So I'm just going to randomly click things. It literally does not matter what you put here. Now, here's where something does matter, right? Now, as you guys can see, when I clicked create with Gmail, it automatically connected my calendar. I did not do this ahead of time, okay? And for some reason, if this is not connected for you, all you have to do is click connect your calendars and then click connect Google Calendar. It's going to ask you to sign into your account. From there, you just sign in and then it should be good to go, just like this, right? Obviously, I already did it. I'm not going to do it again. But let me go back and show you the rest of the flow. We're just going to click continue here. We already have this connected. Now it's going to ask us to create our availability. So you just set this to the times that you are available for anybody to book for you. Okay, let's just say I want somebody to talk to me anytime from Monday to Friday, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. I'm going to leave it exactly as it is. I'm not going to say I'm unavailable any other time. This is completely up to you and when you're available to take calls. Usually the morning times are the best, but some people like afternoons, so I like to show both options. I do mornings for some days, I do afternoons for others, but again, it's completely up to you guys. And then you can also specify your unavailable slots too right here just by removing or clicking the X spot, and it's going to remove the day completely. So now I just click next, and it looks like it's setting up our Calendly. We are now good to go, okay? Here's that 30-minute meeting. It gave you a link that you're going to be able to use. Now, I'm actually going to change this from 30 minutes to either 45 an hour. I think 30 minutes is way too short. So let's see where we can go to actually change that, okay? I'm going to click on the three dots right here. I'm going to click edit, and let me see if there's an option here. And boom, here it is. The very first one is duration, right? You can change it. I'm going to change it to, I'm going to do an hour, and if it ends early, oh well, who cares? Yep, location is Google Meet. And now we're going to save changes. So we are now good to go. It is an hour. I'm going to refresh. Let's see if this title changes. All right, the title didn't change. It looks like the title is separate. I'm going to rename it right here. Instead of 30-minute, 1 hour meeting. And then again, save changes. There it is. So now the title changed, and this is for an hour. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy the link just to make sure that this Calendly actually works. Go to a brand new page. I'm just going to paste it in the URL, and I'm going to click go. So boom, you guys can see it's active. It's showing the week and the week and the week and the week and everything after that. So all you have to do at this point is click on it, select the time from the availability that we already set up. Now it is working, good to go. What we're going to do now is we're going to take this link that we just copied. We're going to jump back into base 44, and we are going to basically remove the Google Calendar integration and make it so that when somebody book a discovery call or the CTA, it'll completely redirect them to our booking page that we just made. So now I'm just going to go back to the same prompt, and I'm going to tell it, remove the Google Calendar integration completely. I want you to set it up so that when somebody clicks the book a discovery call button anywhere on the entire landing page, they're immediately redirected to this link, and then I'm giving it the exact link for the Google Calendar. So I'm going to send that through, let it cook, let it do its thing, and then after that, we're just going to test it. We're going to publish changes and see if this actually works. All right, so it looks like it deleted the schedule intake appointment function, which is what it was using to actually create those, calendar bookings. And now it's editing the layout, it's editing the landing and the discovery form. And literally the most beautiful part about this is that you don't have to do a single thing but type to it and tell it what you want. All right, looks like it might be done right now. It looks like it's finishing. All right, and here we go. We are getting, it is all done. The book discovery call button now directs to the Calendly link completely. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to publish the changes. So I'm clicking the publish button that's probably behind my face right now. And then I'm just going to click publish app. You guys see me click this button before. Now the publishing is done. So I'm going to copy my website's link, open it up in a brand new page. And now I'm going to click this book a discovery call. We'll see if this actually works. So boom, I just clicked it and immediately we are on the Calendly page. This worked beautifully. Okay, we don't have to do anything after that. Now what I'm going to do is, Miles, what I want you to do is quickly test it. Book something for the March 5th on this Thursday right here. I'm going to open up the Google Calendar. This is the same Thursday we've been testing with earlier. And boom, you guys can see he immediately booked here for the 11 a.m. spot on the 5th. If I open up the calendar link, what I'm going to do actually is right now I'm on the 5th. I'm going to refresh it and I'm going to see if the time slot that he picked is still there or not. So I just refreshed it and you can see 11 a.m. disappeared. It's not even possible for somebody to click that time slot because he already booked my 11 p.m. and you guys can see that on the calendar right here. So perfect. We are good to go. We just verified our booking pipeline works. So now that we have our calendar system done, here is what we want to happen, okay? We want it so that when somebody fills out a discovery form and schedules a call that they don't feel like they're being left out. What I'm about to tell you is literally, and I mean literally, the smallest thing that you can do, and it will distinguish you from so many businesses out there. A very common problem in the world is that somebody will fill out a form and it will take a team literally 6 hours or more to reach back out to the person. Now, the problem with that is by the time somebody gets a hold of them, that person that filled out the form is not as interested in the same level as the time that they have just filled it out. You got to think about it like a meter, okay? Every hour that goes by and somebody didn't reach back out to the person, that meter goes from 100% to 90% to 80% and then 70%. And the less and less it goes, the less and less interested that person is in the service or the product that they filled out a form about. Meaning you want to get to them literally by the time that meter hits 90%. You don't want to wait until it hits 80 or 70 because that is the most probable chance that you have to actually getting yourself through the door with that person. Now, the problem here is people have things to do, okay? Nobody has time to sit at their email and watch their inbox 24/7, which is why we're literally going to let AI do that for us. And in the real world, the manual way when this happens is by the time somebody sees that email, they usually send a response back to them and ask them a few different questions or ask them to do some sort of thing or whatever they actually want to know ahead of time before that meeting. Meaning we want the person booking this to get a personalized email. This is where shit starts to get crazy because we are going to completely automate this and we're going to let AI monitor that mailbox 24/7 and wait for things when they get booked. And every single time an event gets booked, we're going to have an AI use that person's name and use their email to send them a personalized message as if somebody from our team took the time and looked at it and wrote it and was able to respond to them very quickly. So we're going to completely automate this with a small, tiny AI system. Now, the goal of the email that is going out to them is to gather a few pieces of information ahead of time, okay? We're going to use this information to basically figure out how we're going to position ourselves if we do jump on the call with them. We're going to ask them a few questions, basically preparation ahead of time. And so with this being said, ladies and gentlemen, this means now I get to officially introduce you guys to your very, very first tiny AI automation system, okay? This is going to be a super small thing. This is not going to be a complex system, but what this is going to let me do is it's going to slowly let me ease you guys into AI automation, and I'm going to explain to you what it is at its core. And I'm going to pretend you've never looked at an AI system before or you don't know why it works the way it works. I'm literally going to explain it to you guys from a bird's eye view first, and then we're going to jump into the platform and actually build this, and I'm going to show you guys step by step how to do this. But again, this is very, very simple, very quick, and nowhere near what it's going to actually be later on when we start building AI systems that are going to be way more complex. So if you've never built an AI automation before, you never built an AI system, this is going to be your best intro. So before we start putting anything together, obviously in the intro, I gave you guys a big intro into AI automation. I told you guys what it's like conceptually, what you're actually doing. Now I'm going to briefly go over the concept of what an AI automation system actually is. And I'm only doing this because the last time I covered it was obviously on day one. But right now, since we're going to be building a small system, it's going to help out to do this very, very quick overview, right? So what is an AI automation system? What you're looking at right now is an example of something called an AI automation system. And you're probably wondering, what the hell are all these little circles? These systems can look as complex as this. And by the way, this is not even really, really crazy complex. But if you're seeing this for the very first time, you're probably seeing a lot of things happening on this system. Or they can literally be as simple and as tiny as this. It does not matter. Both of these are AI automations. And the reason why they're both labeled AI automation is because at heart, right? At heart, if we break down what an AI automation system is, it is a chain of apps. Okay, you guys are going to notice Google Sheets. You know what Google Sheets is. You know what Gmail is. You know what ChatGPT is. This is just a chain of apps, and all of these apps are integrated with each other. Okay, they talk to each other. They're connected to each other. And we have AI in the middle of these apps that does logical processing. What that means is this is the stuff that somebody would have to think about, right? That actually requires intelligence to make and to actually get an output from. That's the logical processing. So you guys can see Google Sheets and Gmail are connected, but there's an AI node in the middle right here that is doing that logical processing. That's whatever the person would be doing. And so each of these circles that you guys are looking at, some people might refer to these as modules, other people might say nodes. Either way, they are the same thing, right? They are just an app that just represents a specific app. And the way these systems are set up is they are lined up in a way where one app will receive as input some sort of data, some sort of information, some sort of anything, okay? And then it's gonna do something, whether that be send an email or put it in a sheet or store information or whatever the actual thing is. And then it's gonna give you an output, okay? And what that output is literally input for the next module, the next node right after it. So let me just show you a very, very quick example, right? Let's just say this exact one that I just showed you guys a few seconds ago. So what would happen here is something would be added as a row in a Google Sheet. That's what this is. This is a Google Sheets add a row module. You guys can see that written right here. So let's just say whatever that thing is, some information you collected from a forum, right? It could be the first name, or it could be the last name, whatever it is. It gets added in a brand new row in a Google Sheet. The output of this could literally just be a message that says information was successfully added, or it could be the actual row number, or it could be the column name, or whatever it may be, right? You're gonna have some sort of output. That output will be used as input for the next module right under it. So let's just say we added pieces of information and we added it on row 7. And because we did that, we now are looking at all of row 7's information, right? We see all the data that belongs in row 7. So now what we can do is feed all of the row 7 data into a specific ChatGPT node, which is going to be designed and system prompted to do specific thing to that information. For example, we can feed it every single column in that row and tell it in a system prompt to use all that information to create a specific personalized email. So it's going to look at that first name column, and it's going to look at that last name column and everything else in all of that entire row. And it's going to use that information to then output a super personalized email. And what happens to that email is it goes in as input to the Gmail send an email node. As you guys can guess, what this does is this literally just sends an email through Gmail. And by the way, all of this happens in seconds, okay? This is not like taking time. This is literally like this. This is what makes AI systems so valuable. It's because you are connecting apps together and you're throwing AI in the middle to do the logical processing that somebody would need to have to do. So imagine if the job of the person is to manually look at the information in this row right here and then have to write that email manually. Well, now if you just tell this AI how to use that information, it will do it every single time, just like a real person would. So this is a super tiny example of what an AI automation is. Obviously, it gets way more complex, right? And this right here, this is a system, which by the way, I'm going to show you guys how we're to build. We're going to build this. This is an AI business scraper system. You can literally tell it a specific city and a specific state, and you can give it a type of business. And then what it'll do is it will scrape Google Maps, give you every single piece of information about that business, like their address, who runs the business, and you're going to get all of the emails of everybody inside of it. And on top of that, what it does is it pulls their website, analyzes their website with AI, and then creates a super personalized email. You guys are going to see this is very, very cool. But again, this is just an example of an AI automation system. And what you guys do as part of this is you put these systems together for companies and you sell them to companies, okay? You talk to these people and you understand what it is they're trying to automate, what it is they're struggling with, and you put systems like this together and sell it to them. That is the core concept of what AI automation system looks like, what it does, how it works. It is very, very basic conceptual idea that you have a big chain of apps with AI thrown in the middle and things connected together. So now you might be wondering where these systems are actually built. The two examples that I showed you guys right here, these were both built on make.com. Okay, now this is where you want to be if you're just now starting an AI automation. The reason why is because it is way simpler to learn and understand. The user interface is super easy to interact with. There's not a crazy learning curve. It is literally designed for people that are not technical to actually jump in and start putting some really cool stuff together. Now, if you're already in IT, if you're already a technical person, you already understand servers and computers and databases and all that crazy shit, you are going to want to be inside of N8N, okay? This is the industry leading right now in terms of AI automations. This is where you get to really build production grade levels AI systems that actually cost $20,000, $30,000 and up, okay? for the most part, I'm not going to introduce N8N right now, but probably in the future, what I'll do is I'll probably make an entire dedicated course teaching everything inside of N8N. And I'll probably do the same exact thing for make.com. That's probably going to be the next thing that I do after this project if you're watching this right now. So with that being said, what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to introduce you guys to make.com. You're going to see me make an account for the very, very first time. I'm going to give you a brief overview of the layout and basically everything inside that user interface, right? Very, very briefly, obviously not going to be super deep down, but I'm going to show you the things you should care about if you're just signing up and if you're following through with us very first time. So I'm just going to start by going to Google and I'm going to search for make.com. As simple as that. We're going to do the same thing we did earlier. We're going to create an account. So at the top right, you guys can see this get started for free. I'm going to click that. And the same thing we've been doing is just continuing with Google as the easiest option. I'm going to click that. I'm going to select my Google account. And what's going to happen is then it's going to create my make.com account immediately, just like this. You guys can see, boom, this is what the dashboard looks like. It's throwing me a bunch of introductory stuff, telling me where things are. I don't care about none of this. Let me just briefly explain to you what you're looking at right here. So here on the left side, you have a few different buttons, okay? At the very, very top, when you're gonna get your home screen, okay? This is gonna be where your dashboard lives for the organizations, okay? You guys can see there's gonna be 3 different tabs here: dashboard, teams, and users. For the most part, if you're not going to be inviting a bunch of people, you're not going to be inside of teams, you're not going to be inside of users. At the dashboard level, you're going to see a few different stats. The first and most important one is the amount of credits. If you sign up for make.com for the very, very first time, you're going to get 1,000 operations or credits completely for free. Now, let me tell you exactly how these credits work. Let's say you built this AI automation right here. Once this AI system kicks off and actually gets used, what happens is this one triggers and it gets used, and then this one triggers and it gets used, and this one triggers, gets used, this one triggers and it gets used. So if the entire chain gets used, that is for credits. Okay, credits are basically modules. Okay, so if you have an AI automation with, you know, all these different circles, let's just say this big one right here, every time this AI automation runs, what it does is it's going to take a specific path. It might go here, and then it might drop down here, and it might take this. However many circles there are in the path that your AI automation takes is how many credits are going to be burned with make.com. So in this example, it'll be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 different credits if the AI automation took this path right here. And obviously every single time a system runs, it's going to be using credits. So you guys are going to get 1,000 basically completely for free to try out and build stuff with without even paying a single dime. And you can see that these credits at the free account reset in a specific number of days. You guys can see it gives you probably, I think, 10 days, the first day being the very first day you sign up. So you have 9 days left where this 1,000 will reset if you just wanted to stay on the free plan. Now, right here, you guys are going to see active scenarios. I want to focus here on the word scenario. What a scenario means: a scenario is your AI automation. Okay, so when you build an AI system, it gets built in a scenario. It's called a scenario. So you guys can see right now, if I click this big purple button right now and I click on create a scenario, it's going to take me to this big canvas. Okay, I'm going to skip through this. But this is your canvas, okay? You can zoom in, you can pull, you can do all kinds of stuff inside of here. This is where you're going to be spending 95% of your time. It's going to be inside of this canvas right here. And anything you build in here is going to be saved and called a scenario. So let me show you guys. And once you build something and you save it, if you click on the scenarios button on the left side, you're going to see a list of all of your previous scenarios. They're going to be listed right here. 1, 2, 3. You guys are going to see these 3 different scenarios right here are in the account. This is from a test that I did a long time ago on the specific Google account, but all your scenarios are going to be listed right here. And immediately you can see the date that you created these. You can see who owns the scenario, and you can see how many credits are used by the scenario immediately right here. Now, very quick distinction right here. You guys are going to see different emblems next to the scenario at the far right. This toggle turns your scenario on. Basically means if you toggle this on, it turns on your AI automation that you built. Otherwise, your system will not work by itself. It'll work only when you manually trigger it. So right now I have 3 scenarios and I can see all of them are completely off. The next thing that you guys can see is these little tiny emblems right here. If you see a clock logo, that means this is a scheduled automation. This is a scheduled scenario. It will run on a specific timely schedule that you decide for it. No matter what the trigger was, it will literally trigger itself on this specific schedule. But if you see a Thunderbolt icon, that means this AI automation only works when things trigger it, right? When things are sent to it, not manually, but when something from outside of the real world, something happens, it lets this AI system, hey, you have to wake up, you have to work right now. Here's the data that you need to work with, go. This is what that means right here, okay? You're gonna see this Thunderbolt logo. That's what that tells you off the bat. Now you're gonna see 3 little dots next to each scenario. If I just click them, you have the option to stay organized. You can actually create folders and you can clone scenarios and you can delete them from these 3 little dots. So let's say you have different projects, right? On the left side, and by the way, I'm gonna recommend you guys do this very, very much. The more organized you stay when building AI automations, the better your life is gonna be later on, trust me. On the folder section, you get to click this plus button and create and name a folder. So I'm just gonna say testing, I'm gonna save it, and then immediately I can move things to the testing folder right now from this drop down. If I click move, you guys can see this testing has a number 1 on it. So now when I click the folder, it just filters and shows me only the AI automations that are inside of this folder right here. Very simple, very basic. Now let me jump back to this organization right now. Here on the dashboard, once you guys start using it, once you guys start to set up, it's not gonna have all these different starter things, okay? You're only gonna see this if you're creating your account for the very first time. But off rip, some helpful things you guys wanna know about is your subscription is gonna be right here. Your credit usage and your payments that you've made are gonna be right here. We're not going to touch anything down here so far. And for the most part, you're not even going to be touching this when you're building AI systems. I don't even remember the last time I touched any of this stuff right here. Unless you start building more agentic flows, which we're not even going to talk about right now. But at that point, if you're building that, you're probably not using Make, you're probably using N8N. This is something to cover in the future. You don't have to care about it right now. So let's talk about the subscription, okay? If I click on subscription, you are going to see the few different tiers that you have available for you. I'm going to toggle off build yearly. You're looking at, for 10,000 credits, $10.59 per month. And this is for the very basic core plan, okay? With this plan, you're gonna have unlimited number of active scenarios. Now, here's the deal. If you go to the dashboard, you can see active scenarios is 0 out of 2. On the free plan, you can only activate 2 AI automations at the same time. You're limited to that. But once you jump into the core, you're going to have unlimited. It does not matter the number of AI systems you build. You can turn them all on. Now, down here, you have 40-minute scenario execution time. What that means is, if you build a huge complex AI automation, something complex, maybe even 3 or 4 times the size of what you guys are looking at right now. Let's say you are scraping a stupid amount of data from someplace online, okay? The entire execution time of this, which is how much time it takes for the entire AI automation to run, it has a 40-minute capacity, meaning your scenario will run consecutively for 40 minutes. After 40 minutes, it's going to time out. You're going to have to either run a completely different instance of it or upgrade the plan to basically get a higher tier. I don't even think they let you get a higher tier, to be honest. I've never seen more than a 40-minute scenario run. And to be honest, it's very hard to hit this 40-minute scenario run unless you're doing some huge scrape job, okay? Which, by the way, this could be something like scraping, 2,000 TikTok posts or scraping this entire Reddit or whatever it may be. That's the only time where you're going to be hitting these numbers. But for the most part, what that looks like is you're going to have 40-minute scenario execution time at the core plan. You're also going to have 100 megabyte file size. Okay, this is literally the size of your AI automation, the content of it. You're never going to reach 100 megabytes. I promise you, you won't. What you're also going to have access to is 1-minute intervals between scheduled scenario executions. What this means is if you have a scheduled AI automation, you can schedule it to run each minute, whereas on the free plan, you're forced to schedule it every 15 minutes, right? You want something that works by itself every single minute. You don't have the ability to execute that on this free plan. You're going to have to be on the core. And on top of that, you're going to have access to 300 Make API endpoints. This won't matter for you guys right now because you don't know what APIs are. I'm going to explain to you guys what that is later. But again, this is a very important word right here, by the way, API. I don't know how many times you guys have heard me say it at this point in the whatever you're watching, but this is, again, very, very important point. Now, you also have the option to buy more credits at the core plan. For example, if you wanted 20,000 instead of 10,000, right? You can click the drop down and select that for yourself and keep this while getting whatever features are on that base plan. So this is going to be something for you guys Most of you guys are never going to be bypassing this 10,000 credits in the first place. This is the plan that I'm on, and I think this is more than enough for where you're at right now. Everything outside of that, it just does not make sense for where you're at right now, so I'm not even going to cover it. So scrolling down, you have a big comparison table. Also, I'm not going to cover all of this. If you guys want to go through that, you are more than welcome to go through it. Now, before I go into any of these things here on the left side, I want to bring your attention to one place, and this is the templates place, okay? If you are just now starting into make.com, into AI automation, this is a place you want to explore, okay? This is a place you want to discover. The reason why is as soon as I click this, what you guys are going to see is a huge template library of a already pre-built tiny, either just automation systems or AI systems, and it tells you the description of what these things are. So let me just read them off the bat, right? Let's just say you wanted something that saves new Gmail attachments and automatically attaches them to Google Drive. You don't even have to work to build that because this is already a pre-built template you can use. The same thing for something like this one. Summarizing website content and creating social media posts with ChatGPT and Browse AI. I mean, this is something that is very useful, but you guys don't have to work a single second to get. You can just download and import the template. And this is a huge library. Right? Like, look at this tiny one. Auto reply to new comments on Instagram. You get comments on Instagram, and these you can automate the replies without even touching a single thing, just with a tiny 2-module system. And you have send WhatsApp messages, get Telegram message, create Notion, like calendar, all these different tiny little things. It helps you guys to explore this because one, you get to understand what is possible with make.com and with AI automation. But two, it basically gets your feet wet so you can see what you can do inside of Make, okay? And these are, by the way, very tiny, very small AI automation systems that are not even worth like probably 10 minutes you can put together manually by yourself if you really wanted to. And under each one, it tells you how many times it was used. You guys can see like a lot of these are being used by the community big number of times. This one just by itself is more than 100 times used by the community. So again, let's say you find a template you like, you just click on it, and what happens is it'll give you this, give you a guided setup, or you can just create it brand new from scratch. We don't care about any of that. All I did now is I'm inside of the configuration for the scenario for the specific template. I'm going to click skip guided setup, and what's going to happen is boom, it just imported it into your canvas. So now what you can do is you can open up each module, you can look at the configurations, and you can actually start connecting into these and making it yours. Now, while we're at this canvas right here, I'm going to explain to you all the buttons that you should really care about on this canvas. The very first one is this button right here. It says run once. What this does is run the entire AI automation just once for testing purposes. You're going to be running the automation once while you're testing and while you're building for the very first time, just to make sure that the actual system is doing what you want it to do. This is just a way for you to run the AI automation without you scheduling it or actually turning it on. So you guys are going to be using this a lot. Right next to it, now you have the option to schedule things, and this only happens if you set a scheduled automation. The way you can tell it's a scheduled automation is by this little logo that is on the very first trigger. So the very first node, the very first module in any AI system is called a trigger, and you're going to have different trigger types that I'm going to get into later when I'm showing you guys the depth of AI automation. But if you wanted to play around with triggers, you're going to click it right here, and you can see this is a scheduled trigger. And the reason why is because I can edit a schedule. I can make it run once. I can make it every day. I can make it run on specific days of the month, or I can make it run on demand. This is a schedule setting right here. Now, because I'm on the free plan, I cannot go lower than 15 minutes, okay? You guys can see it tells me on your free plan, you can only run a schedule of every 15 minutes. So this is going to be limitations for the free plan. You also have the option to do advanced scheduling, right? You can do time from a specific time and to another time, and you can run it on specific days of the week, on specific months only. Again, you're getting very granular. You're getting very detailed with what kind of scheduling you want if you're running a scheduled AI automation. And then if you click on advanced settings, you have some more things down here, such as time zone, time format, all these different things that you can play around with. So this is how to turn on the automation. Now, let's just say this was not a scheduled automation, okay? Let's just say this is something else that's not a schedule. You can tell that because this logo is going to tell you what kind of trigger that automation has. Now that I disconnected this, let's just say I want this ChatGPT logo to be the very first node that runs when this AI automation runs. What I'm going to do is I'm going to drag the clock onto it, and what you guys are going to notice is the clock is now going to stick to ChatGPT. which means now when the trigger actually happens, when the schedule happens, it's going to start here. It's not going to start here. And now when I click run once, the automation starts from this one being the very, very first node. So you can actually move around what you want the trigger to be inside of your AI automation very, very simply just by dragging this little logo around.
So whatever the clock is on first, that's where it's going to start.
If you're looking at a scheduled automation, yes, wherever this clock is, that tells you this is your very first module, your very, very first node.
Okay.
All right.
For our voice system, it wouldn't have that because it's going to be a 24-hour thing, right?
So exactly for the voice system, we're gonna be actually using a completely different trigger type. It will not be a schedule. Obviously, it doesn't make sense for the automation to only run on a specific schedule because it needs to run when people call. That's gonna be a completely different trigger type. I'm gonna go through and explain to you guys the trigger types that are available once we get to that point, so that way I don't cram everything in front of your face. But for right now, since we're going through the UI and the dashboard, I'm explaining to you this specific one, and that you can basically move the trigger by moving this logo. Now, when you have different trigger
Okay.
types, this logo is not going to always be a clock. It could be something else. The idea that I want you to understand is wherever this something else is, that is the very first node that starts your AI automation. Now, obviously, this toggle right here is what turns it on. If this was not a scheduled one, this would also still remain a toggle. So you can turn on your system just by clicking this, and it tells you, obviously, right now it's not going to let me turn it on because it's saying that you have not configured two modules. It's throwing an error right now. So it's not even going to let me turn it on. The one right after it is going to be your save button. Folks, do not, and I repeat, do not work on a system for 1 hour and think that everything is good to go and safe, because once you leave the browser and you don't click the save button, you just absolutely cooked yourself. You just wasted your time. Nothing saves if you do not hit the save button. Trust me, I have had so many different times where I was working on something for 3 to 4 hours and my computer would literally crash, like my entire browser would go down, and I would be sitting there like damn near wanting to break my monitor because of how frustrated I was, because I just wasted 4 hours worth of work. I swear to God, I can't tell you how many times this happened. Make sure that you save things, okay? That's going to be your save button down here. Obviously, right now, it's telling me I haven't configured. I'm just going to click save anyway. And when you save them, it gives you this little thing that says your scenario was saved. Right after it, you have this auto align, okay? When you get a very, very ugly and big AI automation and you want to quickly align it, I'm just going to literally throw this down here and I'm going to click the auto align button. What happens is, boom, it just lines everything up very quickly, makes it very easy to organize, okay? That's your auto line right here. The button right after it is explain flow. This is going to quickly explain to you the path that your AI automation would take if it were to run. So I'm going to connect this module right here. And by the way, the way to connect module is you have this little plus sign. You can take the plus sign and connect it to another one just by dragging and dropping. So look at this. I took the plus sign. I want to connect this Google Sheet to ChatGPT. I'm going to click this plus sign, drag it here, let go, and boom, now we have a connection. It is that simple. So now if I said explain flow, it's going to tell me that the data is going to go from here, and then it's going to jump here, and it's going to jump here. It's just the path of where the data is going to go if this automation were to run. Now, the one right after it is going to be scenario inputs and outputs. You're not going to touch this right now. This is a little bit of an advanced thing. When you guys are building agentic systems, you're going to be dealing with this. For right now, I'm going to completely skip it. Right after that, you have scenario settings. This is going to be general settings you have for the overall scenario, for the overall AI automation, right? And all of these different things we don't have to cover right now, but at some point when I'm going through extensively make.com for you guys, I'm going to cover every single one of these. I'm going to give you a very, very deep and in-depth explanation of all these different things. Right now, you're not going to need that because you're following this exact process that we're going to be doing. After this, you have notes, okay? This is super important. You do not want to be configuring a module and you're going to be going through and setting all these different things. And then later down the line, you come back to the thing that you built and you have no idea why you did it. If you want to leave a note on something so that way you can come back to it in the future and remember something about it, you right click on the node, you right click on the module, and you're going to have a few different options here. One of them is going to be add a note. I'm not going to run through all the rest of them right now just because I want to finish down here, and then I'm going to right click and show you guys the rest of them. So if I were to leave a note right here, whatever it may be, I can click on notes and then I can see all of my notes right here showing up, and it tells you exactly where the note lives. Also, you can see a small logo, okay? So you can just quickly hover over it. You can see all your notes for your modules. So that's what this one right here actually is. Now, the button right after it is previous versions. let's just say you save the automation at 3 different modules, okay? And now, you know what? I decided I want to add a fourth one. I'm just going to select some random one. It literally doesn't even matter what it is, okay? Now, what I did is I saved it again. What happens now is I have 2 different versions. So let's just say I wanted to go back to a previous version because I messed up for some reason. I can click this previous versions button and it's going to let me pick a version. You can see we have times on this one. We have time slots. So if I click this version right here, this is the version that I was saving literally like what at 10:48 p.m. I'm going to click OK on this and boom, you can see it loaded it up. This is literally the version with only 2 modules. So you can switch between versions very, very quickly down here and make sure that everything is in line if you wanted to build things quicker, just in case you mess up, right? So obviously it's very, very important to click the save button. I'm going to keep reiterating saving things because you don't want to lose your work. And then here on the right side, you just have the most used, I guess, modules that people use a lot inside of make.com. You're going to be searching for these when you're building things, but instead of searching, you're going to be just quickly browsing and clicking things very, very quickly. It just shows them right here.